Hey, Sab.
Hey, Shay, and bonjour, brand connoisseurs. Welcome to the Art of Branding podcast on the Team SUG podcast network. Now, Shayna, rate your day without any context.
6.
6? Okay, that's good. That's good, girl. We're here for it.
Yeah,
and you're about to go on vacation.
Yeah, that's the 6, which I'm not supposed to give you any context, but it's the anxiety.
I'll take the context and the anxiety. This is a safe space.
You go.
I would give it I'll go for a 6 as well. Yeah. No, a nice 6.
Okay.
Yeah, a little crazy day, but a good day. Crazy week.
So, what is our elephant in the room today?
So I think picking up where we left off in the last episode where we learned about our fearless leader and her journey to the top, to the CEO chair, I would say the elephant would be, why in the world would we start saying no to clients and cut the bottom 20% of our business?
It's a good one. It's unheard of in the industry. It's something that, like, when we talked about it with some of our peers and, different opinions came in about that, it just wasn't a good idea. And eventually we're going to want that business back and all of the things. But I think this is a great segue topic to your journey also, because I think it was one of the first things that we decided to do in your new role. And I think everyone would love to hear kind of how we got there. But before we do that, let's back way up.
Put it in reverse.
Back way up and go back to how you got into your chair. And that will help give some context as to why we made some of the decisions that we did.
Yeah, so I, as you know, am a product of COVID, and I mentioned it, I think, on our first episode. I am a product of COVID. I was not in the promotional products industry, corporate merchandising industry, any of that beforehand. I actually have a very, very eclectic, career history in the sense of,
to say the least.
Exactly. It's very, very random as far as I started in corporate events, private dining at Tony Roma's right out of college. I was really selling ribs in one of the most affluent zip codes in the country. Then from there, I ended up getting into customer success for a tech company. And then ended up managing a spin studio in Miami Beach that was dealing with all the, super, super powerful rich mom energy in their spin classes. And then moved into a sales role selling fundraisers to high school athletic programs. So I was dealing with a lot of high school coaches and whatnot and locker room talk and all the things.
Gave you the hair on your chest.
It really, really put some hair on my chest. And then I ended up at the Ritz-Carlton to then get furloughed due to COVID. So I say all of that to just paint a picture of why I was all over the place beforehand, because it was just very, very vast. So all this comes to play later. I am furloughed, don't have a job, end up at SUG. I see the vision. I see the fact that they're still able to operate in a time when businesses weren't operating is a testament to, their whole longevity, what they have going on. I drank the Kool-Aid. They didn't have a book of business to give me, but they said, go out, find business, and we'll service it. I said, okay. Exactly. Hold my rosé. The thing is, most people would not have seen, that as an opportunity, where I had been in all those other past situations in circumstances where I was doing sales, I was selling something, I was marketing something, whatever, and the odds were stacked against me. And I had very, very diverse experience of selling at that point, that I saw this as an opportunity to bet on myself and kind of muster up all of my different, background experiences and apply them to this job right here. So, as in the early days of putting together, cold calls and all of my outbound outreach, it was very much so okay, who do I know that buys stuff? And where have I seen promotional products, merch in the wild? And it was at all of my other jobs. So I literally pulled my Rolodex of, all of my past emails, spreadsheets. I kept it, which I don't know. I don't know if that's kosher or whatnot, but I could also call it resourceful. And I literally called up all of these different like contacts that I had made, or even like
gathered throughout the years.
Exactly, or even like came in somewhat contact with of, hey, like I'm at this new job, I'm selling promotional products, but also at the time what was really, really hot was the PPE, the mask, the sanitizer. You know, if you want those little no contact tools for the door, everybody
hated this time.
There was such an angle for literally anything, but you know, I literally called, whether that would be on the phone, LinkedIn, email, all of these people that I had come in contact with the past, you know, years of me being in the workforce, and mustered up this outbound sales energy that I didn't even necessarily know that I had.
I think that that's an important pause, because for me at this point, I'm in, like, I don't know what my actual title is, but I'm just in a sales support role at this point. My only job is to figure out how to like push you forward. And I've never seen anybody that was so okay with the unknown. You know, it's like, I'm telling you, I don't have anything to give you. No one's buying. We're having our worst year. I've been here at this point for 3 years. We're having the worst year that I'd ever seen. And it was just like it was a crazy time. We had that conversation of like, this doesn't make sense, right? For us to bring you on at this point, because I don't have anything to offer you. And you just had that mentality of like 3 letters, yet. It was like, I don't have my book of business yet. And that was something that challenged me too, just to kind of watch you go at something with nothing. And the smallest little something that you were able to come back with, it was this mentality shift, not only for you, but for the company. And that's where we got into this. So that's not really true. We were in this mechanism or mentality of saying yes already, but you paved the way of the rethink what we're selling here. I know that we're coming from a promotional products mentality, but what if we sold service?
Well, I like I said, I drank your Kool-Aid. I bought into what you were doing, and I believed in you guys. So I was like, if I go find something, we'll figure it out. And I'm somebody that definitely is a glass. Oh my God, I said that earlier. Glass half full thinker, in the sense of I have faith in what I'm doing. And so if I put my energy out there, like compounding efforts, something will return. So cold call, left, right, center, literally everybody and their mother that I could think of that even would potentially buy something or could know somebody that could buy something.
Point you in some type of a direction.
Exactly. I'm reaching out to everybody and their mother. I get somebody to answer from a very, very large financial institution. And, you know, give her a little spiel of, hey, like, you know, I work with Team SCG, we do promotional products and corporate merchandise, and we have the ability to sell PPE, like we can source the masks, whatever. And she was the sweetest. Like, I actually still, like, I have a really good relationship with this girl today. It's like, oh, you know, we don't really have budget, we don't have events going on right now, but, you know, send me over some information and, you know, we'll be in touch. So from there, I just kept going, kept following up, providing her some presentations, touching base, whatever. And then probably like 2 months later, she reached out and was like, hey, we're over here, you know, putting together this crazy thing called a virtual event, and we want to do swag boxes for the attendees. Is this something that you'd be able to do?
Which this industry at this time had never supported virtual events before. We were primarily what we call dropship business, which essentially means like it comes from our supply chain directly to the end user in bulk. So this is the first time from a COVID perspective that we're being asked to support what we're now very familiar with as virtual events.
Exactly. So at that point, we said yes. Absolutely, we can do that. And I mean, based on the longevity, and something that's really, really important is the longevity that your dad and your uncle bring to the company was the we'll figure it out mentality. Like, this isn't our first rodeo, even though this is our first rodeo. We've ridden a horse before, kind of thing. So, first order that we do with her,
big success.
Which then we in turn became the like swag boxes, the gift boxes, virtual event boxes for this company. So it's a company that has over 50,000 employees, and so it's not just one singular buyer within the company.
This took off like wildfire.
Exactly.
To wrap it up, to put a bow on this, like it's something that not only had we never done, but these associates had never seen, and it became so highly talked about that it's open. And this is what I always say, like, your focus was always, if I could just get my pinky toe in, then I'll figure out a way to bust it open. And that's
I'll make them like me. I'll make them like the shit out of me, okay? And then they'll want to work with me. And that's essentially what it was. This was very relationship based. So first calendar year, we do about 3 million in business with them, which is amazing. But that led to, then after the full calendar year, we hadn't technically gone through this, vetting process. We were so easy to do business with, and we so organically grew that we hadn't gone through their full vendor management system. So we get put on what's called a buying freeze because their procurement department is like, who the heck is SCG? And how did we spend all this money with them, kind of thing. So buying freeze. So I went from a high to a low.
And someone that was processing all these orders all the time to basically the inbox is dead because they put us on a freeze.
Exactly. So with that, you and I put our heads together of and I guess rewind a little bit. That level of growth that I had to do personally within that year was insane. I had, and God bless her, I love Maria, who was working with me at that time and helping me process and keep things organized. I had you and the family that would we would literally show up to the office on a Saturday,
Christmas Eve.
Exactly, Christmas Eve, doing what needed to be done to get stuff out the door and to deliver on time and to do all the things, all the fixins. But that was a lot for me myself to go through, and it wasn't necessarily something that would be personally sustainable for me in my life long term. So we had this super super high and then a low of the freeze, but that was an opportunity for us to figure out, how do we make this sustainable for me long term?
Which we knew it was going to turn back on. We were going to do everything that they needed us to do from the tech review perspective, and we were going to make all the adjustments, make the investments required. So we knew that was going to turn back on at some point.
Yes, the fire hose was going to turn back on. However,
we wanted to use that time to recalibrate.
Exactly. It gave us the opportunity to really pick our heads up because we were so in it, and be okay, how do we make this work? So you encouraged me to think about the things that I love to do, which is, rather than project management so much, it's managing relationships. It's also the creative behind the brand and experience that we sell.
Everybody's from a company-wide perspective. And let's kind of be honest, you like the hunt.
I do like the hunt. I love starting relationships.
You like being told no until you're told yes. You're stubborn like that.
Exactly.
So it was a naturally very good fit on that side. And then I think the key there was, you didn't feel like you could get out of the day-to-day sales until we put someone in place, which again, another episode to come, but we brought someone on who we both felt very confident in managing that book of business from a front-facing perspective.
Exactly.
Giving you the opportunity to then come get on my side of the woods, which is working on the business instead of in the business. And I know that back half of what we just talked about was summed up pretty quickly, but at this point now, your job, you now report directly to me, and we are focusing on all the things that we want to fix at once. I think from my chair, I was focusing on you knew the hardest part of what we do in our industry is getting people to give us the chance to show them what we can do, because everyone loves the devil may know. Every single person is more comfortable with, even if it's not a good experience for them, it's who they know, it's who they have worked with before, it's who they trust. So that first entrance to the relationship is by far the hardest part. And that was the part you loved. So that intrigued me in a way that I hadn't seen before, in the sense of, okay, what happens if we develop a roll out of this? And then what was really interesting is you loved that idea. However, as kindly as you could possibly be, you didn't feel like you could be successful unless we also doubled down on our marketing efforts.
Exactly.
And then she was born.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, business development and marketing are two sides of the same coin. they're very, very intertwined. And so like we created this role of kind of what I enjoyed doing the most at the company and what I'm most successful. So I could take a step back and essentially better support you in building this out. So with that being said, we're going through this period of hyper growth. Obviously I have like my personal hyper growth, the cruise lines and, the travel businesses.
She tried to quit once.
I did try to quit once. It was literally the week before my wedding. And I was obviously just going through it.
No, you were stressed as hell. That's the other part of why we decided, like, hey, like, it doesn't, this isn't the end all be all. Like, but that was like my wake up call too, where I was like, I was honestly, like, it took me a minute to figure out what you were saying to me, because like, you were like coming in and talking to me. It's like, yeah, we'll focus on a transition. I'm like, what? I don't know what you thought this conversation was, but you're not quitting. You're going to go get married and I'll see you when you get back.
It's just so funny to think back at that time too. It was just like, I was mentally going through so much. And this was like the only thing at the time where I was like, I guess I could get rid of this.
This is the only piece you could get rid of.
Exactly.
But I think that was the wake up call for me too, where it was like, okay, hold on. Like, let's actually look at this holistically. We're in a medium-sized business at this point where we still have the flexibility to move some stuff around. And I think that was also my opportunity to look at this team as a whole and say, okay, what is every single person here's strength? And I hated the mentality of like, focus on your weaknesses, because it just makes no sense to me. So I would rather focus on everyone's strength and then support them from a weakness perspective.
Well, I think it also helped us realize, and this will segue perfectly into like our overarching topic, is we realized we were being everything to everybody, and that we had...
And you weren't the only one who was experiencing the burnout.
Exactly.
That was the biggest problem. Exactly.
We had eclipsed almost this business model and mentality that we were for so long. And so that was, an eye-opener for us to be able to be like, okay, what are our biggest hangups? What are our biggest pain points? And 9 times out of 10, it was not our
big clients.
Our big clients. And so
it was the smaller ones that were just taking up so many people's times. And our best and most experienced people here were coming to me and just saying, like, I'm having to choose between working on an account that, yes, we've had for 15 years, but they've never spent more than $5,000 a year, and they're mean. Like, they're not nice to work with.
I'm on my 10th revision here.
Yeah, or support the clients that, like, yeah, they're a little bit newer from a longevity perspective, but they value everything we're bringing to the table. They know that we're selling our service and not our product. Like, it was more for us, I think, about the alignment of who we're going to work with, and the realization, and I think you probably put this to me in a way that made it click. No matter what you do, and in the working world, there's 8 hours in your day. So where you choose to spend those 8 hours is going to make or break the trajectory of what we're doing. And that was like the wake up point for me, where I was like, okay, you're right here. Like, let's just use Maria, for example. If she only has 8 hours in her day, she could spend it here or there. And you kind of just pointed me in the direction of like, we just need to make a hard cutoff.
Exactly. And like, it was something that, like you said, we have 8 hours in the day. The factories are open for 8 hours. So there's literally only so much time to process. And so with that being said, like,
that was the beginning of our strike zone. That's fair enough.
Exactly.
Like, who do we service best?
Who do we service best? Who do we enjoy serving? And then how does that allow us to pick our heads up and be even more present for those accounts that we enjoy servicing? Yeah.
And even like on the other side of it too, we were doing things that we just still weren't good at. So we had decided at this point of our business model moving into a programs and service model. And some of these clients we were doing print work for, and we just don't specialize in print. I mean, we'll do it. We'll do it if we have to, you know what I mean? But it's not like, it's like the stepchild of the industry at this point. And it's not, that's not really true for us, for our clients. Like,
you're not, no, Shayna, that is a hot take. Print is the stepchild of the industry because everything is digital now. And if there's no utility to your product, then you can just throw it away. And its primary use is to be tossed.
So we never were going to invest further in it. We were never going to get equipment, machinery. We weren't going to spend money on developing supply chain. So we kind of, we had a lot of clients that we were just doing brochures and like
business cards. If you say business card,
shell one more time,
I'm out.
So I think that it was like, when you look back on it, I don't know that me and you had the foresight that we have now, But it's interesting where it landed because there really was no choice here. It was, continue experiencing burnout and continue servicing both sides of the coin. I guess at that point, half as well as we could if we just focused on one.
Exactly. And what this also allowed was like space to be involved in my day-to-day. This is like my personal experience, but the space to be involved in my day-to-day, but also then being able to still be involved to some capacity with the relationships that I've already created and continue to create. And that was like, that's what fills my cup. That's what makes me super excited to come into work, aside from hanging out with you all day and, being next door neighbors. Exactly. Being next door neighbors with you. Like that's what I enjoy doing to contribute to the business. And that's where I'm most successful. So by cutting that, we're able to be so much more like to everybody else that we're serving out there.
Yeah. So we're going to do an entire episode on the marketing journey of this side. But I think from the business development journey, what's, talking about the elephant in the room was it was a hard decision for us to sit there and run our whole report on all of our clients and make the cut. And not only the decision to do it, but then the action of doing it was more brutal than I think me or you or any of our team expected for it to be.
I mean, we couldn't break up with people.
It was tough, but it was, and what was the hardest part is I know my dad and my uncle had a little bit of hesitation with it because it's something that they had developed for so long. And this is such a new direction that we were trying to go. Essentially, I was telling them, when you look at it from a holistic number, it was probably about between $500,000 and $750,000 in business. And when I tell them that we're going to cut $500,000 of revenue, they look at me like I'm absolutely insane. And then when I say that this $500,000 is going to open capacity for an additional $3.5 million that we could bring in, they get it from a formula perspective, but it's still that fear of what if you need it? I hope you never need the business that you're saying no to. And that from a leader's perspective for both of our chairs, I hope we're making the right decision here. It's terrifying.
It's a huge risk, but I think in the way that we've been able to even make this transition in the last year, it's definitely paid off in the way that we're able to be so much more strategic because we're not hung up on the minutia of these little tiny orders. When we have something that's brought across our desk and something to worry about now, it's for our top clients. Exactly. And that completely changed our business model. But then in turn, we created a whole new way that we would go to market and market ourselves with a rebrand, which is honestly a perfect segue into a next episode. So
with that's the journey of Sav.
Exactly.
A lot more to come on that side, but I thought it was super interesting kind of watching that progression, and it was very fun for my chair, except for that dark day.
You were a main character.
Yeah.
As my work wife, you were definitely a main character in it all.
I appreciate that. So
of course, girly, of course.
With that.
Until next time. Au revoir, brand connoisseurs. If you like the podcast, subscribe, comment, all the things, and we will come back to you next Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time.
Bye-bye.